Hello, Internet. It is I, Malik Aaron, and welcome back to Box Office Recap. So, July 2024, how was it? It was pretty darn good, I would say. It was a very solid month. And just like June, it was mainly because a few select movies really overperformed. They shot well ahead of tracking, and as a result led to a very healthy month. I mean, sure, it wasn't like last July where you had Barbenheimer, the Barbenheimer phenomenon that took over the world. Obviously, this year didn't have such a phenomenon, but for the movies that came out in July, I still say the month was a success, especially near the end, and I'm pretty sure you all know why that is. But yeah, let's go through the month. So as usual, I'm going to be comparing my own personal predictions to what actually happened because I find it to be interesting and fun. So let's get to it. We're starting with July 3rd. Because it was the 4th of July weekend, you had some movies come out the 3rd, then the 4th, then the 5th. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It was very confusing. It was a bit of a mess. But let's talk about Despicable Me 4 because obviously that was the big movie for like the holiday weekend. So Despicable Me 4, everyone expected this to make money. I expected this to make money. I predicted an opening weekend. It was like 3 day and 5 day. 3 day I think it was like 70 to 80 mil, more like 70, 75. And 5 day was like 120 to 130. And this movie opened with 75 million for the 3 day and 122 for the 5 day. So it matched my expectations perfectly. I mean, look at these numbers. Like 5 straight days of 20 plus million grosses. I mean, that's a nice amount of money right there. And its legs have been very good. It has shot well past 300 million. It's now hit 320 million as of August, August 7th. And it's bound to make more. So, yeah, and compared to the franchise, I mean, it did way better than Despicable Me 3, which kind of surprised me. Because Despicable Me 3, sure, it made $1 billion, but domestically it kind of underperformed. Granted, a lot of movies that came out in summer 2017 underperformed. But still, I thought maybe Despicable Me 4 would be about on the same level, but it shot past Despicable Me 3. And of all the Despicable Me movies, it's number four. It's bound to surpass Minions, so at least be number three domestically. Worldwide, it's not on par with the other movies. At least all the movies, past Despicable Me 2. It's probably in around 800, 900 million, which, I mean, calling that a disappointment is just silly. Like, it's still going to make a ton of profit. So I don't think Universal or Illumination are complaining about this. I know movie theaters aren't complaining about this. And yeah, and the fact that this is doing as well as it is, considering this is like the sixth movie in the series, it's been around for like damn near 15 years. It's really remarkable. A lot of animated series, like when they reach this point, they really start to fall off. I mean, look at Ice Age, for example. That did really well for like four movies, and then the fifth movie, it just tanked. And it pretty much killed the franchise, at least theatrically. So the fact that this avoided the Ice Age scenario is really impressive, and it shows you just how marketable and how well liked these movies are when it comes to the general public. Sure, online people don't like Illumination movies because they're very corporate. They're very much like made by committee, but the general audiences, they don't care. They will watch them no matter what. And guess what? We're getting Minions 3 come 2027, which should surprise absolutely nobody. Certainly doesn't surprise me. But yeah, Despicable Me 4, it made money. It was one of the, I think of all the movies that were coming in 2024, I feel like the two that I felt had the best chance of making $1 billion were this and the other movie that came out later in the month. Deadpool and Wolverine. This probably won't make $1 billion at the rate it's going. It might, but I don't think so. I think its chances are really slipped. Didn't help it had to deal with the insane success that was Inside Out 2. That definitely prevented this movie from making a bit more money. But then again, I don't. Universal Illumination, they're not complaining. No one's complaining about these numbers. So yeah, Despicable Me 4 made a lot of money. What a what a surprise, right? And it was the only movie that people gave a damn about that holiday weekend, as you can see with the numbers for all these other movies. Yeah, so let's go for the July 4th movies. Let's do Kill because this won't last very long. So Kill, I don't remember what my prediction was. I think it was like 500K or something like that, like 1 million total, something like that. Um, I don't know, but it hit 420K for this 3-day weekend. Well, 4-day it hit like 575K. And surprise, surprise, it fell off the face of the earth real quick. But it made over $1 million, so that's something, I guess. And there's not much else to say, so let's move on. Um, let's see. No, boy, Sound of Hope. Okay. Sound of Hope, the story of Possum Trot. All right, so my prediction for this movie, first of all, predicting this was going to be hard anyway because it's just like Sound of Freedom last year. Well, unlike Sound of Freedom last year, I actually made a prediction video for this because last year with Sound of Freedom, I didn't know how many theaters it was in. I didn't know anything about it. It was opening on a Tuesday because it was 4th of July. It was on a Tuesday last year. And I just didn't want to deal with it, so I just didn't make a video. And then it blew up in a significant way. That did not happen here. Lightning very much did not strike twice with Sound of Hope. And deep down, the Angel Studios, they wanted it to. I mean, come on. Sound of Freedom, Sound of Hope. This sounds like if you just looked at the title, you'd probably assume it was like a sequel or something to Sound of Freedom, or it was connected, even though it's not. So it's painfully obvious Angel Studios did that. So, it could, like, I guess, backpedal off the success of Sound of Freedom, and boy, that did not happen. Well, my prediction, I predicted like a 3-day was like 3 million, final total like 10 to 20 million, and yeah, that's what happened. So I opened on Thursday, had an opening day of about 3.6 million. I'm like, okay, if it can maintain that momentum somewhat, it might overperform, and then it just died the next day, only making like 1 million, and then only made like 3 million total, and then its legs were non-existent. It was the polar opposite of Sound of Freedom, where that movie, it like grew in momentum, like it just grew in a way that's not normal for a movie. This movie just collapsed into oblivion and only made like 11.6 million, which is like which is literally less than 10% of Sound of Freedom. So that's embarrassing, real embarrassing. And there's a lot of stuff that happened with this movie. The fact that it was, partnered with the Daily Wire. You all know about the Daily Wire at this point. They're a conservative media group, and they partner with Angel Studios to bring this to theaters. And I think it was Lolita. Cannot say her name. Sorry. Uh, Latita White, right? Ugh. You know, um, Shuri from Black Panther, from the MCU. T'Challa's sister. She produced this movie, and because of the Daily Wire connection, she had to like publicly distance herself from them. She was just like, "Look, the decision with Daily Wire and Angel Studios, that had nothing to do with me. Don't blame me for that." And yeah, it was just a mess. It was a big PR mess. And So why did this happen? Why did this do so bad? Well, I mean, Angel Studios, like, it's painfully obvious more than ever. I am 100% believe Sound of Freedom's success was a total fluke because every single movie they made after that hasn't even come close, not even in the same ballpark as Sound of Freedom. I mean, I'll show you. That way, it will show how true this is. Damn, it's not even here. What the heck? But these are all of like their movies that they made like after Sound of Freedom, like After Death, The Shift, Cabrini, 11, 12, 19. There was also like Sight, which made like 7 something million. And then you got like Sound of Hope, like 11 million. So yeah, that's Sound of Freedom was a total fluke. And then like the Daily Wire connection. I mean, I don't know how much of an effect it had on its box office, but I'm willing to bet it had a little bit of an effect, especially with how they try to like market the movie. I mean, this is like from an article about Lolita Wright distancing herself. So I like saw this tweet. This from Matt Walsh. God, it's the fact that I have to talk about this man just irritates me to no end, but it's important in context of what I'm about to say. So this is a tweet he made about the movie, promoting the movie. I'm using air quotes there, promoting. It says, in the late 1990s, Christian families in the small town of Possum Trot, Texas, adopted 77 children from the foster care system. It was a heroic effort by a small church community. That's like the plot. Oops. That's like the plot, the main story behind the movie. But then this next sentence really kind of just pretty much, okay, I'll just read it. Today, leftists are trying to stop Christians from saving more children. Immediately, one sentence later, goes straight political. Anyone knows that politics, I mean, like direct politics, like in movies or being involved in movies, is never good for business. It's never good, whether left, right, doesn't matter. It's poison. There's a reason why political movies, they've never done very well, like at all. Specifically political movies. They never caught on. And just like that sentence, like today leftists are trying to stop Christians from saving more children. Does that make you want to buy a ticket to see the movie? Does that make you want to go to the theater to see the movie? No. Exactly. Like that doesn't make me want to watch the movie. In fact, it just turns me off more than anything. So yeah, a tweet like that definitely didn't help this movie at all when it came to how it was like perceived by the public. And yeah, and then no one's oh, I forgot to mention something else. This is also from like the Daily Wire that I need to discuss because it's hilarious. This is from the Daily Wire co-CEO Jeremy Boring. This is what he had to say. On its opening day, July 4th, Sound of Hope was one of the highest grossing films nationwide, second only to Disney's biggest release of the year. I guess in their mind, Disney is the only major studio out there. Universal, Paramount, Sony, Lionsgate, A24, they don't exist. They don't exist in their minds. It's just Disney and no one else. Like that's really what it is. And to compare Sound of Hope to the insane success of Inside Out 2 is laughable. It's hilarious. It says this movie is tracking to be huge. Yeah, real huge. And has the potential to launch a movement to end America's foster crisis. Yeah, if that doesn't scream delusion, I don't know what does. Honestly. Like, just that whole paragraph, the whole few sentences, just like, yikes. Big yikes. Uh, so yeah, this whole movie, it was a mess. It was a PR mess. No one gave a damn about it, and it just died out there. And if Angel Studios, the way they're going, I don't see them lasting too much longer at the rate they're going. But yeah, so that was Sound of Hope. Didn't do well at all. And now we move on to our July 5th movies, our post July 4th movies. First, we have Maxine, the third movie in the X series. I guess that's what we're calling it. I predicted an opening weekend of like 8 to 10 million, final total like 20 to 30. I really thought it would do a whole lot better than the previous two movies, which were X and Pearl. That did not happen. But I mean, it did better, but not that much better because it only opened with like 6.7 million, which obviously didn't reach my predictions, my opening weekend predictions. And then it just crashed after that. It was very front loaded. It was hella niche. Like I thought it would be like a bit more, have a bit more broad appeal, but that didn't happen at all. Yeah, it only made like less than 15 million total, which again, I mean, is higher than the other two movies. So, I mean, I guess that's good. But I did expect this to do better because it had a better release date. It was in the middle of summer, while the first two movies were like in March and September. So I thought this would have more of an advantage. But no, it seems like only like diehard fans watch this. And yeah, not a whole lot else to say about Maxine, but you know, as compared to the other movies, it did fine. But I had higher expectations for it, box office wise. And then we got Kinds of Kindness. All right. So opening weekend, I think I predicted like 1 to 3 million. Final total of like 10, less than 10, something like that. So when it went wide officially, it actually did worse. It only made like 865. Okay, it actually fell quite a bit from the previous weekend, which wasn't even a wide release. And then after that, it just fell off real hard, only making like $5 million domestically. So that's not good. Well, then again, I'm not super surprised by this because word of mouth for this movie was really not good from what I remember reading like audience reviews. And yeah, is another situation where lightning did not strike twice because Poor Things, that was a hit. This was not. So yeah, and that was our July 4th movies, which was again all about Despicable Me 4 and not much else. Now we move on to July 12th. This is where things. Well, originally I thought this weekend would just be a waste of time, a complete waste. It's just a nothing weekend. Well, things certainly happened that weekend, and it wasn't because of Fly Me to the Moon. That's for damn sure. Oh boy, let's talk about this. The one big bomb of July. So, Fly Me to the Moon. I predicted an opening weekend of like I think 10 million and a final total of like 30 to 40 million. I knew for a long time this movie was not going to be a hit because it just did not scream hit. It didn't scream big event movie anywhere. It didn't. It had no signs of being that. And not to mention, it cost $100 million. I'm just like, how the fuck did this cost $100 million? Like, I understand something like Bad Boys Ride or Die costing $100 million, which is a big action movie with explosions and shit. But this should have cost like around 50 mil at least, not 100. That's just lunacy. So yeah, I had a strong feeling this movie was doomed for a while, and I was right to have those feelings because this movie didn't even open to 10 million. It opened like 9.4 million. Compared to like Longlegs, which came out the same weekend, it was a total embarrassment because Longlegs wasn't even from a major studio. It was from Neon. This was from Sony and Apple, but it was mainly distributed by Sony. And it had big name stars like Scarlett Johansson, Channing Tatum. You think it would have done better, but no, no one cared. It had a pretty brutal first weekend too. Its legs were rough. I mean, it fell 32% Friday to Saturday. I mean, I know Saturday, I believe it was that Saturday. A lot was going on the Saturday with the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. Obviously, everyone's attention was on that and not on anything else. So I kind of get that, but still, weekend legs were real, just yikes. And it only got worse after that because I thought this movie would at least have okay legs, but this movie just it. Look at this. It fell 65%, then it fell 77%, and now it's gonna be out of theaters real soon. This is not normal for a romantic comedy like this is supposed to be. Pretty sure it's a rom com. Yeah, it is a rom com. These legs are not normal at all. So it kind of makes you wonder what happened. Like it's kind of like the bike riders, where I kind of have a hard time describing like why a movie's performing like this poorly. I mean, like reviews weren't bad, word of mouth didn't seem bad, but it collapsed entirely. So I don't know what happened really. Maybe the people who watched it is one of those things where they didn't love it. They just were like, "Oh, that was okay," and then they forgot about it once they got in the car. I feel like it might be that. I don't know, but yeah, it's just abysmal, just downright awful. It only made like 20 million total, and worldwide made like 37 million. That is fucking embarrassing for a movie that cost 100 million. And it's just another Apple L when it comes to their movies. You know, like with Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon. You know, I was willing to give those a chance, and to not like completely shit on their box office returns because the consensus was, oh, Apple doesn't really care about box office. It's more of like publicity, to promote like Apple TV Plus and all that. I'm like, okay, fine. But then you have Argyle flopping out there extremely earlier this year. And then you got Fly Me to the Moon, which did catastrophic. Definitely the worst out of all the Apple movies. So it just kind of makes you wonder, like, how long can this last? How long can Apple just like be throwing out these hundreds of millions of dollars on these movies while they're just bombing out there? Like PR wise, it's terrible. Like it looks really bad. So like, how long can this last? Turns out it's not going to last too much longer, because I read this article a while back, and it really opened my eyes to how dire things are for Apple, at least into like their entertainment department. So yeah, this article, Apple is limiting its Hollywood spending following limited box office success. And then this statistic right here blew me away. So from Nelson reports that Apple TV Plus is attracting just 0.2% of TV viewing in the US. Yes, 0.2. Not even a whole number. Not even half of a whole number. Like that's crazy. That is so minuscule. And it's just it's mind blowing. And then Bloomberg said that Apple TV Plus generates few viewers in a month than Netflix does in a single day. Obviously, Netflix has a huge advantage. It's been around forever. But yeah, that's crazy. That paints a very grim picture for Apple TV Plus. And then, earlier today, Wolves, a movie that was supposed to come out in September, starring like George Clooney and Brad Pitt. It's supposed to be like a wide release in September. It's not happening anymore. Nope. Mm-mm. Because Apple was just like, you know what? I guess their confidence in these movies have just plummeted. It's just gone, because Wolves is just gonna get like a 1 week run in theaters and then go straight to Apple TV Plus like the next week. That's what happened literally earlier today. And I imagine that pissed off movie theaters and the people behind the movie, although apparently they literally also announced it was going to get a sequel. So that's just weird all around. But yeah, it's a terrible look. And F1 is supposed to be theatrical, but apparently after that, that's it. They've just given up entirely. Like their experiment has, this their Apple is blown up in their face. So yeah, and I firmly believe the failure of Fly Me to the Moon is responsible for this. Because if it wasn't, why are all these things happening now, right? So yeah, Fly Me to the Moon, huge bomb, pretty much killed Apple's plans of releasing any more movies in theaters, and at least give them like a wide release in theaters. And yeah, just easily the biggest L of the whole month, no question about it. So that was Fly Me to the Moon. Next, we got the Lion King re-release. I think I predicted. My predictions were immediately way too high for this one. I predicted like a million or so, and a final total like 2 to 4 million. I don't remember exactly. I knew it wasn't going to be nowhere near as big as like the 2011 re-release because it was in 3D. That's when 3D was like a big old fad back then. And so, yeah, obviously it benefited from that. This didn't have such advantage. It really didn't have anything. But it opened with like a 1 million. It fell off afterwards. So it basically made $2 million, judging by these numbers, around 2 million. So yeah, so I guess it technically hit. Actually, wait, did it? No, it did. I think I predicted 2 to 4 million opening weekend, and I found total of like less than 10. So I really messed up. um, but yeah, I'm not super surprised. This movie's been available for like 30 years. Like anyone who's wanted to see Lion King has seen it, and I bet a good amount of you saw it back in 2011 when it got its 3D re-release. So there was no reason to watch it, even though it was the 30th anniversary. No reason to really watch it in theaters again. You're better off just watching it on Disney Plus or something, or on DVD or whatever, Blu-ray or 4K, whatever you have. So does this mean, is this going to be like an omen for Mufasa the Lion King, which is supposed to come out in December? I don't think so. But we'll talk about Mufasa the Lion King when it comes out. But the Lion King re-release, it was pretty much inconsequential in the grand scheme of things. It was just a way to make like a couple more dollars. So yeah. So that was the Lion King re-release. Okay, Longlegs. Let's talk about Longlegs. So this was the movie that turned a dead weekend into an interesting weekend. This movie alone. So of Longlegs, I wasn't sure it would have like a super wide release anyway, and only opened like around around 2,500 theaters. So I predicted, I guess internally, like several days in advance, I was thinking, oh, this movie's not going to do that well. It's probably just going to open with like single digits. That's what I thought. That's what I believed. Then I saw this preview number of $3 million, and I was just like, okay, this is not what I expected. So I upped my prediction to like 20 to 25 million. That's what everyone else was saying. And it hit 22.4 million. I was just like, damn, that's a lot of money for a movie not from a major studio. I mean, Neon, they are like B, C tier. When compared to like the big players, like your Disneys, your Universals, your Paramounts, your Sonys. And the fact that this opened bigger than a lot of big studio movies this year is a hell of an achievement, to say the least. And its legs have been really good too, especially for a movie that had such divisive word of mouth. I thought that would kill it, but no, it's just been rolling. It fell 47% second weekend, 43% July 2nd. Although the following weekend's not listed here, but if I had to do the math, it felt like under 40%. It's a fourth weekend, so it's continuing to make a decent amount of cash, and now it's made almost $69 million. It's Neon's biggest movie ever domestically, beating its previous record, which was Parasite. Yeah, as you can see, it beat Parasite by quite a bit. Internationally, Parasite has it beat several by quite a lot. So it's not going to win that. It's not going to achieve that record of worldwide biggest neon movie, but domestically it has. And I saw the movie. I had originally had no interest in it, but the hype surrounding it, all the talk and buzz got me really interested. So I decided, I'm gonna watch this movie in theaters. I'm gonna go out and see it. And so I did. I thought it was really good. It wasn't made like a lot of movies these days. It felt very different. It stood out quite a lot. And Nicolas Cage, who wasn't shown in any of the advertising in this movie, from what I've heard, and apparently this movie had a real killer, marketing campaign, and it didn't even spend a lot to do it, which explains why it opened so big. But I mean, Nicolas Cage in the movie, it was something seeing him, the way he was and the character he played. And I just like, the serial killer aspect of it, whereas like, yeah, like is Micaiah Monroe, who was, an FBI agent. She's trying to like find this killer, find Longlegs, because that's why the movie's called Longlegs. Longlegs is the killer, and it was really interesting. I mean, it was had a bit of a slow start, but I kind of expected that. But once the movie got crazy, it got real crazy, and I was very invested. And yeah, I really liked it. I liked it quite a bit. And I'm glad it's done well. I'm glad it was able to overperform like this. It's a nice, good surprise. As you'd think, oh, a movie, doing, you outperforming your predictions, you think that would make me mad. No, I'm glad when a movie, blows up in my face in a good way, not in a bad way, like freaking, I don't know, the Flash, I laughed at that movie's failure, but like Fall Guy or Furiosa, when those bombed as hard as they did, that really pissed me off. That upset me. But seeing this outperform all expectations, it's great. It shows that the marketplace is doing pretty good, I would say, for a movie like this to be making the money at it, making the money it's making. So yeah, so that was July 12th. Now we move on to July 19th. Not a whole lot going on besides Twisters. But let's talk about Oddity real quick because it won't take long. So I predicted an opening weekend of like 500K to a million, I think, and a final total of like less than two, I think. And opened with 562K. So it hit that. And it only made like $1 million because as I figured, it did not have a long life. It fell off the face of the earth. It didn't help that the second weekend it was dealing with Deadpool and Wolverine. That would hurt pretty much anyone. But yeah, it came out, had a short life. Not much else to say. Okay, Twisters. I have quite a few things to say about Twisters. So with this movie, originally its projections were like 40 to 50 million, like several weeks in advance. And when it came closer to release, those predictions started, I think they were around the same range. But then as Thursday previews happened, hit 10.7 million. I'm just like, okay, this is all right. Just like Longlegs, I'm just like flabbergasted. And I'm like, okay, this is clearly going to shoot past whatever prediction I had originally. So I upped my prediction. I think it was up to like 70 million. I think I said like 70 to 80 million, something like that. And it hit just above 80 million, 81.2 million, which is a whole lot for a disaster movie. This is the biggest ever for a natural disaster movie, beating movies like Day After Tomorrow and 2012 and San Andreas being all of them. So that's quite the achievement. Its second weekend, it was able to withstand Deadpool Wolverine enough. And its third weekend, it was able to stabilize. So now it's made 204 million domestically. My final prediction was like 200 million, so it's already shot past that. So that's great. What's not great is its international run, which is really dragging this movie down by a lot. It's really preventing it from me calling this movie a success. Because if I would just look at its domestic numbers, just domestic, I say this movie is a hit because it's one of the biggest movies of the year domestically, one of the few that hit 200 million. This movie, obviously, it was geared really towards like middle America, the Midwest. I mean, the movie takes place like entirely in Oklahoma, so I'm not surprised you want to target, all like I guess the red state crowd. That's what they were really targeting. And there is money to be made with that audience. I mean, look at how well American Sniper did back in 2015. Like that movie destroyed expectations when it came out. And Top Gun Maverick, part of the reason it made as much money as it did was because it appealed to that Midwest crowd that don't really get a whole lot of movies like dedicated to them, or like movies that are like targeted towards them. So it seems like whenever they get like a big movie like this, they really embrace it. So having that Midwest crowd, show up in droves has really helped it domestically. But internationally, it's a flop, dude. It's doing terrible. Which again, but although that doesn't shock me too much, I mean, how much international appeal does a movie about tornadoes that takes place in Oklahoma have? It's more of a domestic play than an international play. It's kind of like how like some movies that do like really really well internationally because of like certain markets it's in, but it goes here and then no one cares. Like that happens quite a bit. And so that we're seeing the opposite of that, where a movie really hits here but doesn't hit anywhere else. It's basically what happened with like The Little Mermaid last year, except that movie did a whole lot better than this. And Unhelped Twisters was expensive, dude. Cost like 155 to like 200 million. That's a lot of money. Like you need international to be like really good in order to make that investment back. I mean, at least with Day After Tomorrow, San Andreas in 2012, they were able to do that. But Twisters is not going to be able to do that. I thought this movie's going to lose money. So that's kind of unfortunate because I saw the movie and I liked it. It was a movie that, you know, trying, I'm losing my train of thought. But I went to it expecting, I'm like, okay, I want some destruction. I want some cool effects. I want some characters that aren't, total cardboard. Characters that actually have some depth that I actually kind of care about. And the movie gave me that, Glenn Powell's character, in the trailers, he kind of came off like as a douchebag. And that's how he was in the beginning of the movie. But they actually gave him a bit more. He actually had more to him, and him. Then our main character, played by Daisy Edgar Jones. Seeing them like interact with each other, seeing like their, I guess, relationship, if you want to call it that. Their chemistry like blossom. I'm like, okay, I can get behind this. And like the end of the movie, the thing that everyone talks about when it comes to this movie is that you think it like end with a kiss. I expected a kiss like the whole time, and I would have rolled my eyes and be like, "Oh boy, lol, who could have seen this coming?" But it never happened, and I was surprised. I'm like, "Oh, okay, good for you, movie. You're showing some restraint. You're not going full cliche. I respect that." So, but yeah, the destruction in the movie is really nice. Seeing like these twisters like all over the place. Like that's like the draw of disaster movies. Seeing the destruction and seeing these storms and whatnot like just wreck everything. because it makes for some really cool visuals. So this movie gave me what I wanted, and as someone who didn't see the original, and it helped that this movie was a standalone sequel where watching the first movie wasn't necessary. It wasn't like required viewing. I feel like that definitely helped this movie quite a bit, especially getting like younger people to see the movie. And it probably helped that you had like Glenn Powell, who was like white hot after Anyone But You last year when that became a big old sleeper hit. So that go from that to this was a good move. And apparently, a decent amount of people saw the movie because of him. So it seems like he's actually becoming like a legitimate star. But yeah, this movie was good. Domestically, it's a hit. Internationally, it's a bomb. So it puts it in a really weird place. So I guess I'm gonna have to call at the rate it's going. I'm gonna have to call it a loss. Sorry, that's just how it looks. So yeah, but yeah, it's just weird. I don't get too many movies. Usually, I get movies where it does like I see movies where it does really bad in the states, but internationally it shines. That's what I usually see. I don't see the opposite too much. So unless it's like a movie that was never really geared towards like international audience, or usually those type of movies are like real cheap, and Twisters is not cheap, not in the slightest. So yeah, it's weird to categorize Twisters in terms of like success, but like I guess overall I call it's not really a success in my eyes. Now, what is a success and then some? July 26th, Deadpool Wolverine. Okay, this movie right here was the big movie of July. It was positioned as the big movie of not just summer, but the whole year. For the longest time, this movie was hyped up by the industry. They're just like, this movie right here will save our asses because 2024 is a disaster right now. This movie will bring everyone back to the cinema. Little did they know Inside Out 2 would do that first. But um, this movie was built up to be a huge hit. And had every right to be a huge hit. I mean, you got Deadpool Wolverine, you got Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool, coming back after his two movies, did so well. And then you got Hugh Jackman's Wolverine coming back after it seemed like Logan 2017, that would be like the end of his character. But they brought him back in Deadpool Wolverine, although the version he plays is a variant. So it's not the Logan who died in Logan. That way, you can, close that chapter. But with this Wolverine, is a variant, has a comic accurate costume this time. The first time he's ever had that in any of these movies. So, yeah, you have like that bit of hype. And just like seeing these two characters together, I mean, it was destined to happen. I mean, technically you said, oh, we got that X-Men Origins Wolverine. No, we didn't. That was the Deadpool. I'm using air quotes with that. The Deadpool we got in that movie was not Deadpool. That was false advertising. But this movie, we actually have Deadpool Wolverine properly interacting, and not to mention it's the whole multiverse aspect of the movie. People want to see, oh, who's gonna pop up? There's gonna be some surprise cameos, and there certainly were some surprise cameos, some really cool ones that I won't say. I'll probably say what they are once we get to like my summer recap, because by that point everyone would have watched the movie by then. But yeah, this movie had a lot of hype, a lot of buzz. I mean, sure, the MCU is in a pretty dark place right now, but this movie seemed to be like an outlier to that. Like it wasn't going to be affected by the MCU negativity. So my prediction originally, expectations were like 150 plus, and then once the movie got close to release, it really like started to shoot up. And my final prediction was like 180 million to 200 million, but I knew it would probably shoot higher than that. And the final total like 400 to 500 million domestically. And and part of me was like, this is R rated, So like, how high can an R-rated movie really go? I mean, I know Deadpool, destroyed expectations for how R-rated movies can perform, but I was like, how high can it really go? Well, it turns out they can go pretty damn high. Because this movie opened with like 38.5 million in previews. I think I'm pretty sure it's like in the top 10 for best ever. I have to find it first. There's a lot of numbers in here. um, eighth best ever. So I'm like, okay, this movie is about to demolish all expectations. All right, cool. I expected this. Opened 96 million opening day. Ended up making 211 million opening weekend. 211. That's bigger than the first Avengers movie. Which is baffling. That's mind-boggling. And it's real hilarious to anyone who thought, oh, a Deadpool movie. Like, if you were to say back in like 10 years ago that a Deadpool movie would open higher than the first Avengers movie, everyone would laugh in your face because it's a silly idea. It's a stupid idea that Deadpool, like this, merc with a mouth, like who at that point was just starting to get popular, but he wasn't like Avengers popular. Like you'd look insane if you thought a Deadpool movie would make that much money, but here we are. So up with 211 million, completely decimated the previous pretty much all R-rated records, pretty much. But opening weekend, it had, if I can find it, the sixth best of all time. And the biggest for July, but sixth best ever. The only movies that did better were Last Jedi, Force Awakens, Infinity War, No Way Home, and Endgame. That's it. Keep in mind, all these are PG-13 movies. This is an R-rated movie. This should not be possible, but it is. So yeah, it's just pure madness, pure insanity. It definitely, definitely got like the No Way Home treatment in a way. I mean, you can kind of compare the two movies, and both are like technically the third movies in their installments. Although the director of Deadpool Wolverine, Sean Levy, he doesn't really consider Deadpool Wolverine to be Deadpool 3, but that's kind of what it's classified as. So that's what I'm going to say. I'm just going to say that. But yeah, both movies with No Way Home and Deadpool Wolverine, they're the third movies in their series. Both MCU movies where the character was popular outside of the MCU before joining the MCU, and both had like a multiverse aspect to them. So yeah, so like No Way Home, Deadpool Wolverine really benefited from that. Seeing it also helped that you have like two characters that a lot of people love back on the big screen in the form of Deadpool and Wolverine. And it wasn't like The Flash. Okay, The Flash tried to be No Way Home, failed miserably. But Deadpool and Wolverine, it didn't have the same issues as The Flash. It didn't have a main actor who was a menace to society. Okay, it didn't have that headache, and not to mention wasn't a part of a universe that was pretty much aborted. But the MCU is still alive. Granted, it's seen better days, but it's still alive and kicking. But yeah, Deadpool Wolverine, and now like its second weekend was really good. Only fell 54%, which is actually above average, slightly above average for MCU movies. Usually they drop in like the high 50s, but recently it's been like the high 60s, and the Marvels fucking 78%. But this movie shows that its word of mouth is really good. As of August 7th, August 7th, hit 431 million, which is by far and away the best for an R-rated movie. I gotta find it for domestic for R-rated movies. This is number one. It finally beat Passion of the Christ. It took 20 years for a movie to beat Passion of the Christ, and the movie to do that involved a character who who's self-described as Marvel Jesus. How fitting. um, but yeah, worldwide, it's uh, it's number three. It will shoot past Oppenheimer by this weekend. And Joker, it seems like it's got that in the bag. It will be the biggest R-rated movie of all time worldwide. So that's another feather in its cap. Will it be the biggest movie of 2024? No. No. You gotta deal with Inside Out 2, which, opened lower, but that movie's had like really, really good legs. But obviously Deadpool Wolverine would be more of like a fan film. Well, not a fan film, more like it's a real fan driven film where all the fans show up weekend one, like celebrating and having a good time, and then it kind of just falls off a bit afterwards. It doesn't have like the same momentum as like Inside Out 2. So it won't be the biggest movie of 2024, but it'll definitely be a solid number two. Unless something weird happens later this year, it will be number two for 2024. But these numbers are incredible. Absolutely incredible. And as someone who saw the movie like Thursday night, witnessing like all the hype, witnessing the Wolverine popcorn bucket in real life. Yes, I saw that popcorn bucket. If you've been online, you know what that popcorn bucket looks like. It's very much not something Disney would do, but it's something Deadpool would do. But yeah, witnessing like the hype, seeing the movie, everyone invested in it, everyone like going crazy over cameos. It was fun. It was a nice time. It was very much like my No Way Home experience. Although No Way Home was a bit more hype, seeing Toby and Andrew, people losing their goddamn minds, seeing them again. So it was, I would say, on par with my experience with Deadpool, Spider-Man No Way Home. Although I think Deadpool Wolverine is probably objectively a somewhat better movie than No Way Home, in a way, I'd say. And like Deadpool Wolverine, it was nice because the movie, it was basically a love letter to like the Fox movies, like the Fox universe that we had before Disney, gobbled up Fox. It was basically a love letter to like that era, and it was really nice. It was cool. It made me very nostalgic for those movies. So yeah, I like Deadpool Wolverine for that. But yeah, Deadpool Wolverine, everyone expected this to be a monster hit. It very much was a monster hit. It earned its success. Glad it's doing well. Will Marvel maintain the success? Absolutely not. Although, the big announcement, like the same weekend Deadpool Wolverine came out, obviously Comic-Con happened, and it was announced, what Avengers 5 would be, because it was supposed to be Kang Dynasty. Then Jonathan Majors got fired because of legal shit. And so people wondering, what are they gonna do? Who are they gonna replace Kang with? Turns out they're gonna replace him with Doctor Doom, which was the next logical choice. So I mean, Avengers, you got Avengers Doomsday in 2026 and Secret Wars in 2027. They revealed Robert Downey Jr. was gonna be Doctor Doom, which was very weird. I didn't know how to feel about it. Initially, I thought it was like some weird rumor, but then that rumor turned out to be absolute fact. But I don't know about Robert Downey Jr. being Doctor Doom. I mean, as long as he wears that mask the whole time, it won't be super noticeable. But I'm still going to see him as Iron Man. Everyone's going to see him as Iron Man because he is Iron Man. But it's going to be weird. Real weird. But I'll give it a chance. The movie comes out in 2 years. I'll give it a chance. But yeah, the MCU, I don't know about its chances now. I don't know about how it's going to do. But Deadpool Wolverine by itself is like the hit the MCU needed, because last year was rough. I mean, Guardians 3 did all right, but Ant-Man 3 flopped, and the Marvels was a catastrophe. So Marvel needed a win, needed a short-term win, and this was that short-term win. And 2024 is turned out to be the year of the X-Men. You have this, you had X-Men 97 earlier this year. It's the year of the X-Men, and it's nice. It's cool. So yeah, Deadpool Wolverine. There's nothing else really to say about it. I already said what I needed to say. And then Fabulous Four. Let's talk about this as quickly as possible. So I predicted open weekend like I don't know 500K to a million. Final total like 2, 3, something like that. I don't remember. It hit like a million. It's been like 2.6 million. So it's doing better than I expected. But is that really saying much considering these numbers are so low? It's gonna disappear by the end of the month. So it really doesn't matter. It might hit 3 million. Maybe. I don't care. And that's it for July. So again, July, really solid month. The movies that needed to do well did do well. And that's the important thing. But now we're in August. And August is looking real ugh. So we got some slim pickings in August. I mean, already Harold and the Purple Crayon was a huge flop. And then Trap did mid at best. And then this weekend we have Borderlands, which is looking like a catastrophe. I'm excited to talk about Borderlands, but not excited in the way the movie wants me to be excited because I've seen reviews. Damn, son, they are. I the score that movie has is one of the worst scores I've seen in a minute for a big movie, and I'm really excited to talk about it. But you got Borderlands, you got uh Cuckoo. You got It Ends With Us, which is probably going to be the big movie of August at the rate things are going. Then you got Alien Romulus and all these movies I don't give a shit about. Then you got The Crow, Blink Twice, The Forge, and then way too many movies coming out August 30th, like Afraid and a bunch of others no one cares about. So yeah, August is kind of a dumping ground this year. So that's not great. Really, which sucks because June and July were so good, and then we have August just just falling on its face. But yeah, so that was July. That was July. So that's it. That's all. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, turn on notifications, share the whole drill. You want to check out more videos like this? I got playlists on the homepage, all previous recap videos I made this year, the past few years. You want to watch any of those recaps, you can go right ahead. There's also box office predictions where I predict all the box office for movies this weekend. Borderlands, Cuckoo, and It Ends With Us. I do those three movies. But all the movies I talked about, like I really paid attention. I gave like a spotlight to in this video. I made prediction videos for. So if you want to watch any of those prediction videos, you can go right ahead. And there's also the canceled series where I went over all the movies that came out that didn't. That series is done. So there's 250 episodes. It kind of sucks that I ended it at 250 because guess what? Literally right after they announced Shrek 5 for 2026. I'm just like, God damn it, are you serious? You could have done this a few weeks ago. I would have. So yeah, that stung. But yeah, there's 250 episodes. You want to binge them all, go right ahead. And yeah, that's it. That's all. I am out. Goodbye.